No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump. No KKK, no fascist USA. No Trump.
The president has said countless times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
I apologize for interrupting.
ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live. They're pulling over people indiscriminately, including U.S. citizens, and demanding to see their papers. And at grocery stores, at bus stops, even at our schools, they're breaking windows, dragging pregnant women down the street, just plain grabbing Minnesotans and shoving them into unmarked vans, kidnapping innocent people with no warning and no due process.
Strike! 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 Strike!
What do we want? What do we want?
ICE out!
What do we want?
ICE out! What do we want?
Now!
That said, take a look at what happened.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
Okay, that's why we're here.
Okay.
That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a Christian?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I just can't believe it. Scared. It's frightening. It's terrorizing. We were just standing here.
Wait.
I don't need to remind anyone here of the ever-increasing number of cases of young American women who have been raped and murdered by illegal aliens in this country.
8 years ago, I was a never Trumper. And then in those same 8 years, I was a permanent resident. As a permanent resident, I was not able to vote because in order to vote, you have to be a U.S. citizen. Fast forward, I became a proud U.S. citizen on 19th of May, 2023. It was an emotional time because I became a U.S. citizen with all the hard work that I've done. I've been through so much, adhering to the laws, all my struggles being in this country, how this country has done so much for me. So becoming a U.S. citizen and doing it the legal way and being able to pledge my loyalty to this country, that was a proud moment when I took that oath.
Many seek an audience with a ruler, but it is from the Lord that one gets justice. Proverbs 29:26, NIV. This verse addresses where true justice ultimately comes from. People often appeal to earthly rulers or leaders, seeking favor, decisions, or vindication. Seeking an audience implies lobbying for influence or pleading for a hearing. Yet the proverb reminds us, clearly and firmly, that real justice, righteous judgment, originates with God, not with human authorities. It echoes themes earlier in the chapter, like trusting God over fearing people, as we see in verse 25, and it encourages us to rely on divine sovereignty rather than on human power. In a world of shifting leaders and imperfect systems, True justice flows from the Lord alone. The righteous detest the dishonest. The wicked detest the upright. Proverbs 29:27 NIV. Verse 27 then pivots to the fundamental incompatibility between the righteous and the wicked. The righteous, those aligned with God's ways, find dishonest or unjust behavior repulsive, while the wicked, those opposed to God's standards, find upright, godly living abhorrent. This mutual hatred, this deep detestation, highlights an irreconcilable clash in values and in character. It reveals a profound divide. Light and darkness, truth and deception, simply cannot coexist in harmony. The righteous recoil from evil, and the wicked scorn what is holy. Yet in that very tension, the proverb affirms the unchanging standard of God's righteousness. Leaders are pursued relentlessly for audiences, favors, pardons, or policy shifts, whether in Washington or on the global stage. Yet amid bold actions, military interventions, immigration crackdowns, tariff threats, and heated debates over justice, many feel human systems fall short, delivering division rather than true equity. Protests flare, outrage spreads, as one side views policies as righteous strength, while the other sees them as dishonest overreach. The righteous recoil from what they perceive as injustice or moral compromise, while others scorn godly principles as outdated or obstructive. This mutual repulsion, this tension between light and darkness, truth and deception, confirms the proverb's warning: values rooted in God stand apart, unchanging, even when earthly rulers shift, alliances fracture, or crowds clamor for one voice over another. In such times, the call remains clear. Look beyond the rulers of the moment to the Lord, who alone delivers lasting justice and upholds what is truly right.